Let's be real for a second. You're looking at someone else's life online and you're looking at it and calling it inspiration, but it's not inspiration. It's called coveting. And you're looking at this person's life online and you want that life, but you don't know what it cost them to get there. You want the life, but you don't want the discipline. You want the glow, but you don't want the breaking. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kia Renee. If you are new here, today we are going to be focusing on coveting, looking at someone else's life and wanting it for your own, and what it actually costs to get there that you may not be willing to do, but it is required in order to have the life that you want. What you see isn't actually the full story. You look at someone's life and you say they have a great car, they go on vacations, maybe there's something soft about them and you want that softness, and maybe you didn't live the life you think you should have lived to get that softness that another woman has. Maybe they have a nice job and they have a great family, a great husband, and sometimes maybe you even look at this person and begin to fantasize that life and you're living it and living it in their shoes. And sometimes you may become a little envious, but let me tell you, what you see is not the full story. You don't see the sacrifices, you don't see the healing, you don't see the obedience, you don't see what this person had to give up in order to get to where they are today. The prayers that they prayed, the fasting that they had to go through. You don't know what cost them to get to where they are today, and you're coveting a life that is not your own. There are many things that you are not willing to give up in order to have that life that you see someone else living. You're not willing to give up the drugs and alcohol. You're not willing to give up clubbing. You're not willing to be obedient. You're not willing to not be arrogant or conceited. You're not willing to not be entitled. You're not even willing to give up your pride. You're not willing to release the things that God needs you to release in order to take you to that next level. And why you don't want to release them? Because it means that you have to put in the work. And nobody wants to put in the work today. You stay in toxic relationships. You'd rather comfort over dysfunction. You want to keep your old identity because it feels comfortable to you. And you operate in dysfunction very well. And that is a problem, sweetheart. A lot of us want that instant gratification, that 15-minute success, that going viral moment. We don't want to put in the work. And I say we, because I am a part of that as well. There are things that I want when I want it as well. We want it to happen right now. We're not willing to go to therapy. We're not willing to take a look at ourselves on the inside. All these things work together for the good of us wanting the life that we've always wanted, that we've always wanted to be raised with our parents. In order for you to move to that next level, yes, you are able to make millions of dollars. You are able to do that. But if your insides don't match your outside, then what is it worth? You're not called to their life. You're not called to their assignment. And comparison is distracting you from being obedient. God has called you to do something, but you want to do what someone else is doing. And that is drawing you away from the life that you ultimately want to live. And a lot of us, we just can't grasp that concept. We think about, if I can just do this, or if I can just do that, or if I can just do this. But what is God telling you to do? Is God telling you to start the business? Is he telling you to give up the drugs and alcohol? Is he telling you to forgive someone? A lot of the times, the things that we want in life, they're actually internal. There are some internal things that we need to take care of in order to be able to be aware or have discernment about the things around us and where God is wanting us to go. When you begin to covet someone's life, sometimes you may become envious of what it is that they have. You become envious of their looks, envious of what they have, envious of what they don't even have, because sometimes you have things that they don't have and that makes you envious. What do I mean by that? They don't have debt. At least you think that. They don't have a cheating spouse. They don't have children. They don't have a bad car. You look at the things that they don't have that you may have, or may not even have at all. You may not have a husband or a car or a job or anything. And you're coveting this person's life, and it's making you envious. Everyone's calling is different. There's someone that's called to business. There's someone that's called to do media or content. There's someone that's being called to be just a servant. There's someone that's being called to do different things on this earth, and you have your very own calling. And in order to be able to answer that call, you have to stop coveting this person's life and look at your own. Because everything that you see that this person has, you can have that plus more, but in your own field, in your own life, in the own way God wants to provide it for you. Because again, you do not know this person's story. There are many people that we look at that may be in the same business. They may be in real estate. They may be in media. They may be a content creator. They may be a millionaire. In order for them to be whoever God has called them to be, there was something that they had to go through in order to get there. So they may be doing the same thing, but their story and their testimony is very different. This person had to go through what they had to go through in their life. This person had to go through what they went through in their life. Two separate stories, testimonials, but in the same field, in the same media room. Your story and your testimony is going to be different from theirs, even though you may end up in the same spot. But it's what it took for you to get there that makes it so special. There are some people that have stories that you would never think would even come out of their mouth that they ever even experienced if you ask them. If you got a chance to sit down and speak with your hero, or sit down and speak with someone who lives the life that you live, if you ask them how did they get to where they are today, you would probably be blown away by their answer. It wouldn't be, oh, I invested in this or I did that. It would most likely be, this is what I had to go through to get here. And that is a true story. So we must not be so impressed by the glitz and glamour. And not only that, you only see what a person allows you to see, whether it's in person or it's on the internet. We're only showing what we want you to see, and that's for anyone's platform. So we must not be confused or trapped or coveting someone else's life because you are only being shown the good parts. Even if someone shows the not so good parts, you're only seeing a snippet of someone's life. You're not at home with them. You're not having dinner with them. Or maybe you are. Maybe you are coveting someone's life that you're actually close to, and that is not okay. That is something that you need to go to God about and pray immediately. Because you don't want to be bitter. You don't want to have jealousy, envy. You don't want to get to a point to where it's unhealthy, that you're friends with someone or associated with someone and you're coveting the life that they live and you're actually in close contact with this person. It's not healthy. The real issue here is surrender. The issue is surrender. It's not that God is withholding something from you. It's not that he's not hearing your prayers. It's that you haven't surrendered what God is asking you to surrender. And it's something that we've been holding on to for a very long time. It may be unforgiveness, trauma, envy, jealousy, pride, anger, entitlement, lying, stealing, cheating. Any one of the sins could be it. Loudness, harshness, cursing people out, playing the victim, being a people pleaser, putting something before God. It can be anything. Sometimes it's that main thing that happens when you are triggered. That could be something that you need to surrender. And it can be many things. Without surrender, transformation cannot happen. Without surrender, transformation cannot happen. It will not happen. because you're holding on to something that you're putting above God. This thing is more important than what God is asking of you, than what God is telling you to do. You refuse to sacrifice. You refuse to be disciplined. You refuse to be obedient to what God is having you to do, when ultimately that's what he needs you to do in order to get to the next level. That's what you need to do to get to the next level. Ask yourself right now, what is something that I need to let go of? And this is something that you know is actually toxic to your life. It's something that you know that is hindering you. It's something that you may feel pain sometimes when it comes up, or when they come around. It's something that triggers you. Maybe sometimes you feel sad when this thing happens, or when you think about it. What's something that triggers you, something that hurts you, something that brings you pain, something that you know you need to let go of, but you just have not surrendered it to God yet? And it's probably a few things, and you may need to write these things down. And I would encourage you to do so, and I would encourage you not to do it all at one time, to give yourself time to think about it, to write it down. And once you get to the point to where you feel like you've written down as much as you can, I would say get on your knees and pray. List everything out to God, or just let God know, God, these things that are on this paper, it's been hard for me to let these things go. But I trust you, and I am surrendering this to you right now, Father, because I do not want to hold on to these burdens anymore, because they are heavy and your burden is light. Once you do that, you may have to surrender it every day. And you're not going to be perfect at it. And one day you're going to wake up and realize that this right here, that thing that was on that paper, is not an issue for you anymore. And if it comes back up, you pray again. Sometimes you have to surrender over and over. But if you want to live the life that you dream about, and one thing that I can tell you is that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ever ask or think, you're going to have to surrender, friend. There's no way around it. There are things that you may end up receiving on your own without having to surrender these things, but you still won't be happy. You still won't be happy. You can cry in a Rolls Royce. It sounds so nice. But you won't be happy. What's the point in having all the wealth and the riches of the world? And whatever that looks like to you, it doesn't have to be money. It can just be joy and peace. Or you want to have joy and peace and you don't have it yet. It can be something totally different. It could be a husband. It could be children. It could be many things. But how will you enjoy these things if you don't have the peace of God? So before you sit and envy someone else's life, ask yourself, am I willing to surrender and let God's will be God's will? Am I willing to live the life that God has called for me to live? Because when you're looking at someone else's life, it didn't come from perfection. It came from surrender. And when you finally release what God is asking you to let go of, you will not become them. You will become everything that God has called you to be and better. You're going to become who you were always meant to be. Your life is not late. It's just waiting on you to say yes. Before I go, I want to add in a few scriptures for what we just talked about today. Luke 9:23 says, whoever wants to follow me must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. Matthew 16:25 says, whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Exodus 20:17 says, you shall not covet. Proverbs 14:30 says, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy makes the bone rot. For your purpose and your calling, Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Jeremiah 29:11 says, God's plans for your life. And lastly, Proverbs 3:5-6, which is one of my favorites, Trust in the Lord with all your heart. I hope there was something that was said in this video that resonated with your mind and with your heart, and that you would take the time to just think about what is it that you need to surrender. If you know someone that is having some issues with coveting the life of someone else, or even comparing their life with someone, share this video with them. Talk about it with someone. But most importantly, pray to God about these things. There's no reason to feel ashamed or embarrassed or have guilt to talk with God about what it is that you're feeling, because He is over your life. I love you, and I thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and please leave me a comment. Have a good day.